Let's start out. The channel is a very interesting place. You know, this phrase, the channel. I know there is nobody going through elementary school, junior high, or high school, or even going to college saying, hey, one day I want to grow up and be a trusted advisor for the channel. So walk us through your journey. How are you where you are today, and what did that look like? What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, my son's 13, and he sees my job because my office is at my house. Um, and I'll hit him with a question every now and then of like, "Hey, wouldn't you like to do this one day?" And he's like, "What? No, this is lame. Your job sucks."
He probably wants to be a doctor or a dentist
you
or
Yeah, listen, you're saying like meaningful jobs. He wants to be he wants to be a YouTuber or something like that. He does waffle back and forth. He was YouTube for a brief moment, and now he's on like coding, game development. That's an actual job. So
yeah.
we'll
When
see.
I was 13, I wanted to be a monkey trainer. So I mean, at least
And
he's in the right direction.
I was gonna be in the NBA, and obviously at 5'7", my chances were
Slim to
at
none.
best.
Not great.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to be a baseball player. That was always my dream. But instead, I started working for a bar. Way less fun. So that's how I got started in IT. I worked for a regional boutique VAR who focused on mid-market and enterprise, and they had a cool mix of accounts, and they did this neat variety of things from core infrastructure, core and edge switching and wireless onto some security, although they weren't great at that part. So that's where I learned. Got experience working in mid-sized to large accounts and understanding what that cycle is like and the expectations. And I got a piece of advice when I was very young in my career. And my sales manager said, don't bother hanging out with the salespeople. You'll figure that part out. Go hang out with the engineers. And that's what shaped my career and what ultimately has shaped my business and why it looks the way that it looks.
So you came up through the sales engineering side. So learning the technology, learning how the product fits in and helps overcome problems and solutions. Is that right?
So I had a seller title and role, but I thought the sales stuff was lame. So I believe there's a bunch of like technical sales content that people do training on. I've never done any of that stuff. Like the Challenger model, I've never done any of that stuff. Refuse to do it. Um, I just don't see the purpose of it. So I just started hanging out with engineers, taking certifications and doing technical tracks. And then my sales approach became like, well, you just start talking, telling me about the stuff that you've got and what you do and the problems that you have. And like, I just want to bring you options to how you fill those gaps and plug those holes and how you resolve the pain that you feel.
Yeah.
The structure was much more like, I'm going to solve a problem than, hey, I've got a promo and a pitch. Do you want to buy this? That part felt lame.
So tell us a little bit about your company today. What do you do today, and how did you get into the business?
Yeah, so started in VAR World, did that for a minute, and then transitioned to an agency where I ran sales, and so got the experience of being able to sell both across both consumption models, and saw the value in both and the benefit of both, and specifically saw use cases that would push end users toward one path or the other. So as we developed our business, we wanted to enable end users to have that flexibility and that choice as well. So I say this constantly during my engagements with end users. I never want this to feel like I'm telling you what to buy. Rather, I'm here to help you. I want to present options for you, and I'm trying to design solutions that perfectly solve the problem to the best of my ability. And then you tell me what you want, when you want to buy it, and if you want to buy it. That's up to the end user. So we have, as a result, we have three different flavors of how we consume projects. There's traditional resale. So I am an OEM reseller. That's hardware, licensing, support. And I do all that traditional stuff too. And it's actually a thriving arm of our business. People still love that stuff. We do professional services. That stuff's in-house. We offer everything from networking, security, public cloud, and some CX Pro services. So a little bit unique. And you can consume that as a billable hour, a fixed fee engagement, or a bucket of hours. So again, much more flexibility than what you traditionally see. And then, of course, we have the traditional, or what is now the modern distribution arm of being able to offer a variety of hosted and managed services across the full spectrum of IT. So we have this wonderful consumption model that lets end users pick and choose what they want. We never tell them or try to push them down one path. And as a result, we primarily do work in the areas of infrastructure, networking. Security is very, very popular for us. And then UC, CX, app dev, and then it just kind of trails into a variety of stuff. That's for business.
I think Eric and I are trying to decide who has the next question.
Yeah, so I'll ask you. I'm curious.
That's not bad then.
That's all right. We edited it out.
I mean, my part must have sucked real bad.
No, it was great. It was great. It's interesting that you there aren't very many quote unquote trusted advisors who kind of play on both sides of the channel, right? There's two different channel types. There's that VAR, MSP, integrator model that's kind of long history of technology sales and technology kind of integration into companies. And then there's this kind of newer arm of what we call the telco channel that's more of that consultative, hey, we're just part of the sales process. We don't do all the other stuff. So there's not very many of trusted advisors who play on both sides of that fence. Talk to us about why you made that decision to have both arms and feet in both sides of that.
Yeah. Good question. So I recognize my background's unique and my experience is unique, and it's resulted in this thing that we're trying to create. So the business model is a little bit unique, although I do see it more and more. And I think this is what the future is going to look like. The future will look just like this. This is what businesses will do. In terms of the VAR stuff, while we maintain that portion of the business, and while we actually are investing a lot of time and energy into making it grow, is because end users still consume that way. They still buy licenses and support renewals, and they still have to have on-prem stuff, and they sometimes don't want people to manage it, and they don't want a co-managed version, or they don't want the ongoing OpEx expense. Like, that stuff still does exist, and there's quite a bit of it, and end users are still conditioned to buy that way. So because we have capabilities in those areas, and we kind of like it, we decided to go down that path. Initially, when I first formed the business, there was no resale. I didn't want to do it. And my end users kept bringing projects to me saying, like, hey, sell me this, like, give me this license. You sold me this hardware, give me a renewal for it. Here, take the renewal. And we genuinely did it because people brought us so much work and so many projects that we had to. So thus the VAR stuff stuck around.
The VAR stuff's interesting to me because one of the things that we're seeing a lot as sort of the compression starts to happen and all of these different types of firms sort of merge is we're all ultimately talking to the same clients. So your model's intriguing to me from a variety of different reasons, in that you're not going to end up losing a client because they went to a hardware company to get hardware and ultimately migrated their services over. You're doing it all to support your clients' needs. And there's a part of me that thinks that we're going to see more and more companies like yours start to pop up. But I want to shift gears to just the channel portion of your business. And I'm reminded when I ask you this question of a question that my dad has asked me for 20 years and tends to ask me about every year and a half. Hey, Eric, so what exactly is it that you do? And I've tried to explain the channel to my dad and others over the years. How would you explain the channel, not to my dad, but how would you explain it to a supplier looking to possibly get into this space?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, that's good. So when my family asks me what I do, I just say, don't worry about it. I sell drugs. Because if I tell you that I work in IT, you're going to make me fix your iPhone or tune your TV
Yes.
or something dumb. And it's going to just go right over your head. Let's just get what I do for a living. So how would I explain the channel? So this is gonna be the silly part of the answer. You know, all that money that your company spends on marketing that doesn't work, all those millions of dollars to send out those terrible cold emails that have a sub 1% return on investment. You could take all that money that you're spending on dumb stuff that doesn't work, and you could work with regional or localized partners who hold relationships with end users and enable them to solve problems on your behalf, and it's a win-win for all parties. Um, our channel is unique in that it's not a requirement. What you see on the VAR side of the fence is most commonly it is a firm requirement of many of the manufacturers who work in that space. I'm just going to pick a couple of names out of the air, like a Palo Alto Networks and a Fortinet. We'll make it fair. The two kings of firewalls. Um, Both of those companies make you go buy through the channel. You're not going direct and buying direct from those manufacturers because those companies learn something very early on that it's almost impossible to do sales at scale. If I have a small sales team of a couple of people, hey, it's hard to make sure that everybody has the same message and we're going down the same path and we're delivering the same type of superior client experience. So now try to do that across thousands of reps, across multiple territories and potentially numerous countries. How successful are people going to be? Well, when you look at companies like that, look at companies that have tens of thousands of employees, do any of us feel that they're efficient in their workflows or that they're hyper productive? No chance. And we all see that the sales experience periodically suffers as a result. So our channel is unique in that it's a little bit unknown, and some of the suppliers don't recognize the benefit and value of it because our channel has not matured yet, but that's in the works right now. So the way I would explain it is to compare it to the VAR model. You see how this works on that side of the fence. The same thing exists within the modern distribution channel, and you have localized partners in network, in territory, and some have specializations and skill sets who can enable you to be more successful at the client level.
There's roughly somewhere between 400 and 500 suppliers in that telco channel ecosystem, and they're all out there trying to get your attention and say, "Hey, come sell me, sell me, sell me." What is your kind of process to go through and decide which suppliers to work with? And how do you make a decision which ones you lean into versus which ones you don't?
Yeah, man, I get blown up by suppliers. My inbox overflows. It's constant. So product market fit's number one. Like, does your solution actually resonate with anybody? Do people care? Does it solve a problem? Is it unique? Is it new? And from there, our next stage is a technical review. We actually want to dive into the technology to understand how it works, how you built it, how you support it, and look at use cases, compare it against your competitors, and understand what your support mechanism looks like. That is not the first step that most of the suppliers want to take. They immediately want to come in with like, look how much we'll pay you, look at the spiffs, look at all this stuff that we'll do. I don't care. Don't care about that part. Starting with product market fit, technical capabilities and delivery, and then we can talk about all the stuff like how you're going to support it or support us rather. And to get on my radar, you of course have to do those things, but I'm also looking for a company that's easy to work with, and most are not. Most are painful, um, and there's a ton of red tape, policy, bureaucracy, or a complete misunderstanding of how any of this works. So we're trying to find companies that are easy to work with, that have reliable and reasonable people that we engage with, and it would help if they had technical resources who actually knew what they were doing.
So give us an example when you say maybe don't share some names, but think of a supplier in your mind that you would consider easy to work with? What are some identifying traits of what that actually means to you? What do they do well in the easy to work with category?
Yeah, great question. So this should be an easy one. If I've got a problem, or more specifically, if my end user has a problem, they will move heaven and earth. And all it takes is a text or an email, and they understand the mission and they jump on it. They have a sense of urgency with the client experience. That's always top of mind for us, and the thing that we most value. From there, it's understanding who we are and what we do. Most of the channel organizations treat the people in my shoes like we're all the same. It's the same talk track, same pitch, same value proposition. And the first rule of sales is understand thy audience. And they've committed the cardinal sin of failing to understand who we are and what we do and what's actually going to move the needle. So, for example, I sell very little traditional telco services. Um, if you approach me and all you want to talk about is pot lines and SIP trunks, you lost me already, dog. Like, I got other stuff to do.
That's funny. So, um, sorry, I got to think of how to ask that next question. So, you're really heavy in infrastructure in that co-location and that cloud space. Do you run across other deals? Are there clients that come to you and say, "Hey, help me sell that POTS line," or help me procure POTS line, or help me procure internet? Do you run across those deals?
Yeah, of course. So as I say this, last week we closed a project to do POTS line replacement. uh,
Nice.
so this end user, the first project I ever did for him was storage. And then I started selling them security and licensing. And then I started selling them audits and assessments of their AWS environment and working on their AWS footprint. And then from there, I sold them a CX and UC solution. And then from there, after all that work, then I scaled into the POTS line. So yeah, my experience with that kind of stuff, or my take on it is, that's not a great value proposition for me to lead with. Me saying, oh, by the way, you're paying a lot of money for POTS lines, I'll make them cheaper. That's not a business proposition that's going to be compelling and get somebody to pay attention to me. I'm trying to talk about the things that are actually compelling and unique and that few people do. And of course, I'd want to pick up your POTS lines. I'll be more than happy to sell it to you, but why
It's
don't
more of a
we?
Me Too product versus your lead
Yeah,
in your sales methodology.
yeah. Why
So
don't you buy me a drink and take me to dinner first?
I'm I'm curious. You talk about how you speak to your clients and ultimately win them over. I think one of the biggest challenges that the channel manager at the supplier has today is getting in touch with people like yourself. Cameron mentioned earlier there's 400 to 500 suppliers in the community today. That number is expected to accelerate to 12 to 1600, which Daniel, that ultimately means there's more. Yeah, there's more
That's
people
crazy.
calling you. It's nuts. But I think it's a reflection of what's going on in the industry and the growth and the adoption of how buyers are now buying. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, what can I do as a channel manager? If I'm sitting here listening to this show and I'm a supplier channel manager, how do I get your attention? You've not transacted with me. I can't show you until you take my call the value that I offer and the partnership that could be formed. How do I get your attention?
Yeah. It would help if you got a referral. That really, really helps. If you know somebody that knows me and they can vouch for your capabilities, that goes a long way. Um, we for our business specifically, what we've done in an attempt to professionalize our workflows, the first and third Friday of every month, we hold new vendor calls where you can come meet my whole team. I'll bring technical resources to the table as well. But during that block of time that you get with us, we're going to drop the hammer and grill you. Like, you better not come there unprepared or unwilling to talk about your value proposition and what your product does and how it works. So we do enable new vendors the opportunity to engage with us in that manner. If you want to get my attention, you should probably talk about something unique that your product or solution does, or a problem that you solve that differentiates it from your competitors. If you're just another me too, I'm going to ignore you because I'm already working with the best products and solutions in the space. Like, I'm looking for enterprise grade Magic Quadrant style products and solutions because I'm focused on mid market and enterprise. They're not buying scrub products. So you got to do something to get my attention.
I love it.
How many of those people that come in and part of that new supplier training knock it out of the park? What percentage?
Oh, like sub 20%. Most people are so bad at this. Yeah, they're really, really bad at this. It's the same slide deck. People just rotate from company to company to company, and they take the same bad ideas from one place to the other, and they just give you the same old boring pitch, the same old boring deck. It's the same thing. There's a whole lot of Me Too vendors and suppliers in the channel right now.
I want to talk about the elevator pitch. Cameron and I talk about it a lot publicly, that a lot of the elevator pitches we hear from channel managers at something like an IT Expo or a channel partners tends to be, well, I'm in the UCaaS business, or I sell contact center. We're a security firm. Do you think a lot gets lost in our collective inability to talk about the value that we bring to a company like yours in our elevator pitch?
Well, if you don't understand enough about the ecosystem, the product, and your own solution to tell me more than I sell UCaaS and I sell CCaaS, then you failed. You fundamentally failed at your job, and you don't understand the basic product market fit and value proposition that you offer. So we have so many. It's a I this part may be rude, but I'll risk it. This is where our channel has to professionalize, and we have to mature. We need more people in those channel manager roles who actually understand what they're doing. This side of the business specifically, if you compare it with the VAR world, this is where it's different and where it's unique. VAR world's far more mature, infinitely more mature and professionalized than what we experience in our space. There are still an abundance. In fact, the majority of channel managers who believe that their job is to show up at events, pay for lunch, and to try and take me out drinking sometimes. Like, they think that's their value proposition. What are we doing? That's terrible. What you doing? That's a big old waste of time. That's a nothing burger.
I love it.
One of the other things I'm intrigued by, and again, this is something that we've talked about, Cameron and I, together over the last year. We've been fairly public about this. We don't get a lot of phone calls. So we went to a national event about a year ago, hundreds and hundreds of suppliers, one phone call. Now, let's call it a year later. We are, let's call it a month removed from channel partners. You've gotten a lot of emails. I know that you've gotten a lot of emails. I didn't even go to channel partners this year, and I've gotten a lot of emails that start off with, Eric, it was great to see you at channel partners. But I'm curious, Daniel, how many phone calls have you gotten from channel managers as a follow-up to channel partners looking to sit down and meet with you?
That's a goose egg. Exactly zero. But I appreciate all the ghost emails for an event that I didn't attend. Thank you. That's very kind.
Talk to us about, so you mentioned earlier that every once in a while you'll run across a deal that's POTS replacements or some type of like Me Too product that your customers want. It doesn't sound like that's a focus of yours. So you're probably not spending a lot of time with companies that do POTS replacements or general internet and understanding the landscape and who plays and who does well and who doesn't do well. How do you go about deciding what suppliers to bring into a scenario like that?
Yeah. So again, I hope that I'm not going to be rude right now, but we're talking about POTS lines and circuits. This is some basic stuff. Like, this is at the low end of the scale of what I'm going to do today that's difficult. Like, I can do that while I'm brushing my teeth. That's easy. Um, it's largely an economic play. It's the value proposition is based on the financial component of the deal, by which I'm going to lower their overall operating expenses and give them a similar or more advanced solution for the same cost or less. This is basic. It's easy. There's nothing difficult. There's no heavy lifting. There's no engineering. Like, we're going to sign some paper and then you're just going to get it. Like, it's easy. So while it's not a primary focus, and not the main thing that I'm out chasing, don't think that your boy's sleeping on the job. I'm still hitting what's happening. I'm still on my game, and I'm paying attention to who's good and who's bad. And I think that I have a fair to moderate grasp of the suppliers in the portfolio and where they fit and what they do well. I enhance my knowledge and capabilities because I'm fairly well networked. I have decent connections, and I also have a peer group of people who have my same job and role. They're also operators. And we religiously share notes back and forth about our experiences with vendors. So if I'm curious about a new vendor, or I see some changes inside of a vendor, in one text message, I can get a full detective report to let me know what's actually happening, and have a pretty good grasp from there.
I think that's something that we don't talk about publicly enough in this channel. Is this channel, this body of people, they talk a lot. And
Yeah,
so the
Very
very
well
chatty.
importance, yeah, we're very chatty. That's spot on. So if you have a good experience, you're likely going to share it with your peers. If you have a bad experience, you're
Tell everybody.
absolutely going to share it with your peers. And the challenge becomes everyone's going to have a bad experience with a supplier. Every supplier is going to have a bad install or implementation or commission issues. What I've ascertained over the years is how we as suppliers respond to the partner community, either the trusted advisor or the TSD. Can you elaborate on, and I don't know if there's an example that you think of that comes to mind of how a supplier solved a problem and sort of reposition themselves as a quality supplier despite maybe their mistakes?
Yeah. So you mentioned there's like 400, 500 suppliers. It's going to grow to 1,200. I mean, I'm really using on a like daily basis, like 10 to 20, right? And then like 40 to
Yeah.
50 across the year. And so I acknowledge that everybody's going to hit a bump in the road sometimes. Bad installs happen. You get a bad project manager. Um, there's a million reasons why an install could go wrong. Sometimes it's the end user. There's always billing issues. Stuff always goes wrong. It's inevitable. You're always going to have a negative experience at some stage of the life cycle of working with that vendor. If you're signing a 36-month agreement, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Life does happen. But it is, Eric, to your point, it's the response that we receive from the vendors um, that changes my attitude. So when I'm sharing with my peers my experience with vendors, I do like to be transparent and honest enough to say they're always excellent. Here's where I see hiccups or where I've had bumps in the road, but this is how they responded. The vendors that we take a dump on are the vendors who have problems and then they don't take ownership and they don't fix it. So my real answer is the thing that I'm looking for out of a vendor is extreme ownership. If it's your problem, and it falls on you, you should fix it. And you should have a sense of urgency about doing so. And you should also be kind to the end user throughout that engagement. What really chaps my hide is when vendors take a holier than thou attitude toward end users as if they're beneath assisting with the task that they've been assigned.
Yeah, that's great. Let's change gears a little bit to kind of your growth model and how you've matured over the last couple of years. TSDs have always positioned themselves as kind of that business in a box, right? We have all the tools and resources, so you don't have to. Talk to us about kind of your growth model. what did you use through the TSDs? What do you rely on them or ask for help on them? And then what's the long-term game plan? Are you going to keep using them, or are you going to bring all of the stuff that they do in-house?
Oh man, what a juicy question. There's so much here. Okay. That's good. So the concept that the TSD has like a business in a box is, man, I feel like you guys are setting me up for a clip.
Hey, look, we'll edit anything if you feel like, hey, I said something and I don't want that public. We will clean any of this
Oh,
up, just
hey,
so you know.
mean what you say and say what you mean. So you can post anything.
We won't hang you out to dry for sure.
Do it. I think it's funny. I love it.
I think the real question really comes around. Look, trusted advisors come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, the really tough thing for a TSD is you can go everything from a very product vertical specific trusted advisor who only deals with one technology to somebody who is an opportunistic TSD or opportunistic trusted advisor that, hey, they'll sell anything they trip over. And like trying to provide resources and tools for those two different ecosystems can be really difficult. And our industry is changing fast. We are seeing TSDs starting to go down market and start to vertically integrate to where they are becoming the partner. And we are seeing partners vertically integrate and go up market and starting to build contracts directly with suppliers and bringing in the motions of becoming a TSD. So we're seeing a lot of flux in the way people are going to market. And I think the future right now is fairly unknown of what this industry morphs into. We do know there's a 2.0. We do know that there's change. We're in the middle of the flux right now. I think everybody has a different idea of what the future looks like. So I'm curious kind of what your idea looks like. What does your future look like? What are you going to use versus what are you going to bring in-house?
Yeah, great question. So, in regards to the question about how do TSDs like segment the messaging for their specific partner base, I'll flip that question. If you look at my base of customers today, do I talk to each of those customers like they're exactly the same? Or do I segment my messaging per customer, per account, per need? Like I have to be granular with the details because it's my freaking job. Because that's what's required to be successful. It's laziness on the part of the TSDs to claim that they can't customize the offering or the messaging or the tracks that their partners take part in. That is lazy, or it's that they don't understand how it actually works. You be the judge. How I will transact in the future. So I think it's best for me to describe how I view my job and what my role is. I feel that I'm a general contractor. So the first track that I had in college was building science. Grew up doing construction. My best friend is a manager for a large construction company. So I still love that stuff. It's how I view my job. The TSD is the hardware store. Right? You are supplying building materials that I use to construct the house that an end user designs. I help end users design blueprints. They pick what they want, and I build the thing to their specifications and their requirements. TSDs are intended to be my hardware store, my modern distribution arm and channel. Much like I have that same distribution channel on the VAR side of the house. That is their role, and that is their job. The way that they can elevate is providing a superior experience, a faster response, an elevated support experience, especially around commissions and items like that, and constantly innovating to provide new products and services that have a valuable place in the marketplace. Or they could just remain stagnant and still and focus on the old telco stuff, which is highly transactional.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the reasons why Eric and I really talk about the growth of the supplier community, going from the 400 to 500 now to double or triple in the next couple of years, is because the telco channel focuses on 5 technologies: network, cybersecurity, cloud, UC, CC, and hey, throw wireless or cellular in there as well. if you are a trusted advisor and your job is to use technology to help these companies with problems and issues that they're facing, you can't solve all those problems with those 5 verticals. Talk to me about where you hope you see the channel integrating and what technologies you want to see them provide more of.
Yeah, I'll call out one that you've already mentioned, security. The TSD security practice, hey, it's amateur hour. It's lightweight. Like we've got to beef that up. Um, the TSD security portfolio is really based on SMB, if I'm being very honest. So specifically with security, we have to look outside of the TSDs to provide those products and services. And it's difficult if you need a managed flavor of a service. The TSDs are very limited in what they can offer and their capabilities in that space. So to call back to an earlier question that you had, we see that TSDs are integrating downwards to become their own agents. That's a no-no, by the way. If you do that, that's bad news, and you're going to make us not like you. You're fishing in our pond, and you better stop. It's also hubris for that TSD to believe that they're better at this job than I am. It's not going to work. Anyway, moving on to the next point. I myself, I do have to go outside of the TSD channel to get direct agreements so that I can utilize products and services that are required to meet the end user's request. In VAR world, you have direct agreements with manufacturers. So I'll pick 2. HPE, so that's Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and Dell EMC. I have direct agreements with both of those manufacturers to sell their full suite of products and services. I have the same thing on the managed security side of the house and in many other flavors. I'm going outside of the traditional TSD portfolio because of their inability to deliver advanced solutions, and they forced me to have to go down that path. And to call back to an earlier question about what the future could potentially look like, I believe that the jack is out of the box with TSDs going downstream and buying agents and trying to become agents. Like we've opened Pandora's box now, and I think it's ultimately bad. And I'll call back to my earlier comment about selling at scale. TSDs aren't like incredible sellers today. Try and do that at scale downstream with end users and see how well it goes. And I see more and more partners that will inevitably swim upstream and integrate vertically and have their own direct agreements in response to what the TSDs have done. It's inevitable. It's going to be common practice. And we're at this catalyst for what our channel community is going to look like. This is a transitional point in time that we're experiencing right now. We've experienced the initial phase or model of what this looked like, phase 1, and we're transitioning into phase 2, and it will look drastically different than it does today, and it will continue to evolve.
What are you hoping that suppliers, what are you hoping that suppliers transition to? What do they need to do better in order to help you find more success? Where do they need to beef up? Where should they put their time? Where should they put their money? Where should they put their resources to help the channel succeed?
I feel like the TSDs are about to send the hitman to my house.
Oh no, the hitman's already there, by the way.
Yeah, I'm about to get a knock on the door of the gas man's here. Let me give you one prime example of where there's excessive spending and, quite frankly, waste. When TSDs host events and they get suppliers to come in and pay for them, we all know the TSDs are overcharging for those events, right? And they're like making massive amounts of money off of these dumb events that the same people show up at. What are we doing? Why are we spending millions of dollars on events so that agents can just hang out together and drink? What are we doing? Why would you not take that money and put it downstream for client engagement? Why would you not actually utilize it for something that produces an ROI? Silly. We're at a weird position or a weird time with that part of it. We could certainly utilize the money in a much more efficient manner. And I would also say that the supplier should not be so tied to the TSDs for their own success. If you want to, as a supplier, have tremendous success, you should go try to spend your time with partners to actually understand what's happening at the client level. With a TSD, you're removed from that. TSDs at scale are not engaging with end users on a day-to-day basis. They're not seeing what's actually happening in the wild. They see secondhand information when orders come in or when they see deal registrations come in. You should go straight to the source of truth and spend time with agents to learn what's actually happening and what's valuable and what they want. Don't listen to another third party. Come ask us, and we'll tell you what we're looking for from the experience. Those are a couple of things. Spend the money in a better way and actually engage and interact with the people that you're trying to serve.
So those are great feedback. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is making sure that you have a good feedback loop. The channel is great because you have access to hundreds of resellers, trusted advisors that are interacting with the end users. And you can take your product and feature set and say, hey, this is what I have. I want to get into this vertical. What other features do I need or functionality do I need to be better equipped to play in that space?
Yeah. You're only going to learn that by getting close to the end user. There's also this weird thing that that I see where if, let's say, you're a vendor or a supplier and you pay to be a diamond sponsor with one of the TSDs, well, anytime I ask a question about anything in the ecosystem, all I'm going to hear about is the diamond sponsors. We've got to break out of this mentality of we recommend and refer the products or services of who's paying us the most in the back end. That is fundamentally broken, and it's a flaw in the matrix. It is one of the biggest problems that we have, and it's where TSDs have they have not been diligent with the trust that we've given them.
You're right. We're going to have to edit this shit out of some of this stuff. Here's our philosophy. Look, pause the podcast for a second. Here's our philosophy that we're really trying to live by. Look, we realize in order for Eric and I to succeed, that we cannot make enemies of the TSDs, right? They own this space, and we have to come in and make change from the inside out without alienating them. So we have this praise publicly, criticize privately, and create tools and resources that make fundamental changes to the industry. And hopefully, as we I won't say hopefully, we will, as we work with suppliers, our goal is to take that money that they were paying $6,000 for a golf event and come down and say, Daniel, I have $6,000. What tools and resources do you have in place to go find new opportunities? And you say, I don't have any. They come to the channel advisors and we say, hey, we have a whole engine. If you plug money into it, that we can help you find leads. So we're going to bring Daniel in. We're going to bring the supplier in. We have the tools and marketing resources to help Daniel go find opportunities with that $6,000 instead of doing a golf event. So we try to put the process in place without alienate the TSDs so they get bought in and helping us make this pivot of this entire industry.
Suppliers are also hip to this game, though, at this stage. They see what's happening, they see the low ROI that comes from it. And I would imagine that you're going to see much lower engagement or involvement for some of those events from the supplier community.
Yes. I mean, what's happened is the community got built by the TSDs going to these suppliers and saying, hey, we have a new model. Come find success with us. All you have to do is come in, sign a contract with us, come participate in some events, and you're going to find some opportunities. Now, that was great when there was 30, 40 suppliers because the partners had limited suppliers, the partners had limited suppliers to go to when they had a UCAS deal, right? They had a handful of people. And so if you just sponsored it and they found a deal, then yeah, they're going to bring it to one of five. So you're going to have more opportunities. There's 107, I think I counted it the other day, 107 suppliers that say they do UCAS in the TSD community.
That's
You
about
can't just come sponsor an event and think you're going to get opportunities when there's 107 people in that space. They have to mature. They have to have a better story. They have to stand out in the crowd. And this is channel 2.0, right? This is the evolution of where we're at. It goes back to that VAR space of you have to mature your business model.
Yeah, listen, I'm hung up on this 107 number.
Let me find what the real number is.
There's
'cause I
really
think
like 7. There's really like 7.
How many did I find?
But if there's 107, and I got to run here in a minute.
Me too.
But if there are 107 UCAS providers, the reality of it is some of them, even those that are doing, lower end revenue, they're finding success because they're doing some of the things that you and I talk about. They've nailed their elevator pitch. They're meaningfully getting in front of the trusted advisors. When they're in front of the trusted advisors, they're talking about using their MDF dollars in ways that impact and drive revenue versus, hey, Daniel, can we take you out for a happy hour? So I do think there's a home for some of the lesser named brands in the UCAS space and some of these other very transactional supplier communities if they're doing the things. Obviously, the Ring Centrals and the 8x8s and the Zooms of the world are going to remain relevant. But I think there's a space for some of the others if they do the right things.
Yeah, listen, you touched on another point that I think is actually meaningful and helpful. If you're a channel manager coming to talk to us about your solution, you should probably spend more time talking about how you're going to help and enable our business to grow rather than treating it like, look at this cool product that I've got. Of course you want to sell this. You'd be dumb not to sell this. Like, very few people actually talk about how they can help us. And a help signal is much more compelling than a new promo or this cool spiff that I've got.
109 was the answer. 109. If you go to the Teleris website, look at suppliers, click on UC suppliers, there's 109 people who check that box saying they have a UC solution. And look, most of the time it's the same one. I think Ring Central's platform is in like 5 or 6 of those different providers, right? Just
wow.
the wrapper looks a little bit different. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit to the channel has really matured over the last couple of years. And I will say in a large part due to private equity coming in, throwing a bunch of money, starting these roll-ups, starting to buy out partners, starting to invest in the space. It has forced us to mature because private equity is not going to give you money and just sit around and say, hey, hopefully we get a return on this. No, they're savvy business people. They know how to come in. They know how to look at reports. They know how to put metrics and KPIs and real business practices in place. And in most of our industry, it has been salespeople who don't want to work for corporate America found a really lucrative business model to go out and sell and generate recurring revenue. You've been in this industry long enough that you've played in both sides of that channel timing, both before private equity was in and now starting your business probably after private equity's been in. Talk to me about how you think differently now that you've seen what private equity wants and what they're doing to the industry. How are you building your business and what's important to you?
Yeah, when you hear private equity, you should really just think banker. And that banker is going to give you one option. You've got to grow. That's it. No other alternative. So it is forcing our business to professionalize, both on the TSD side, the supplier side, manufacturer, and the traditional VAR side, and of course for agents such as myself. So as I build this company and as we laid the groundwork for what it would be, We naturally wanted to build it so that it is a sustainable business that can stand the test of time. This is not a lifestyle business. Like my pickup truck and my boat are not being paid for. I don't have a boat. I'm just saying, I just see that example all the time. My kayak is not paid for by the business. We're trying to create like a real professional business. So that means that we've taken the steps to implement some automation and some tooling and some professional processes that make us look and feel like a real business, because we're looking for repeatable outcomes. I want to replicate experiences across the user, and specifically, I want to ensure that support is sufficient for their requirements. So you've got to professionalize some things to create that experience. So that means we've done some of the basic work, like rolling out a CRM tool that's heavily customized for our specific workflows and for our revenue models by which we consume projects. We have project management tools. We have a full suite of collaboration tools that we utilize. All of those things are integrated together so that it automates basic portions of our workflows, by which I'm saving about 10 hours of my work week now that I'm not using it for busy work and dumb tasks that aren't very compelling. We've done a good job of documenting what our actual processes look like. Like they're written down and they've been validated. So everything from how we create opportunities, how we close opportunities, how we track the commission, how we identify and note the project inside of our CRM, all of that is defined, and there is a repeatable process by which anyone could walk off the street with a basic understanding of our business and understand what their workflow should be for every single component of our sales and support lifecycle from start to finish. We've done all of those things, and we continue to do those things because we recognize that, one, it just creates a nice, clean life. It's easy. Things don't fall through the cracks. It creates a better client experience overall, and it's something that's much more appealing to some of those potential investment opportunities that could come in the future as we mature.
Do you have an exit strategy in place? Have you decided on what that looks like, and are you building towards a particular point in time?
Yeah, I think everybody has like an initial concept in their mind of what that looks like and what it is, but I will say that it evolves and changes over time, especially as you mature. For me personally, I do not have a set date, but I will say that I actually like this job. I like the thing that I'm doing, and I like this role. This is fun for me. I like building stuff. And I like building stuff more than I like making money. So I'm going to build this for a long time before I ever cash it in. When I cash it in, it's going to be when I'm like real old, like older than this, and I'm ready to be done. Probably, maybe.
As we start to wrap up the show, what's one thing that either you were hopeful that you would talk about today, or a piece of advice that you'd offer the community at large?
Man, a piece of advice for the community at large is don't chase spiffs. Do what's right for your end user. The more time that you can invest understanding the technology ecosystem and understanding the building blocks of IT and how it fits together is time well spent. The best way to be a seller is to be a problem solver.